I was shamed for using a surrogate because I already had 2 kids. How could it be so selfish to still want a third kid, you know? And I had to use surrogate because I have an autoimmune disease and the medicine I have to take for it causes birth defects. But I was so selfish for doing that.
Welcome to the new series, Cocktails and Conversation with Kat and Nat.
And we've decided to bring you all of these conversations with people that we like to have where there's a little bit of wisdom, always hilarity and hilaria. Yes. Some famous, some just cool, some drink, some don't drink, but there's always a conversation.
Cheers, join us. Well, Hope, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell our community?
We've already started recording because we know as a mom of 4 and a kick-ass woman entrepreneur that you have like limited hours in the day or minutes in the day. There's not even hours these days. It's like minutes. So you got to tell us who you are
And what you do.
So my name is Hope Smith. I'm a mother of 4, and I started a beauty brand called MUTHA about 1 year ago.
It's only been a year.
Yeah. Well, it's been 5 years of working on this brand.
Yeah.
4 years where my family probably didn't think I was actually going to ever do something with it. My husband's probably like, yeah. Like she says she's like working on something. And I don't think my lab ever believed I would finish a product. I don't think my mother ever believed when I'd ask her to watch the kids that I was actually like getting things done. But it took me a long time. But I finally, yes, now it's been launched for a year.
Okay. So what inspired you to make, it started with the 2 body products, which was a body oil and
A body
balm, body butter.
Yep, butter.
And what inspired you? What was not out there in the market that you felt the need and passion to create something new?
So I have a friend and she does makeup on from Jennifer Lopez to whoever is like the hot can hire her makeup artist. Her name's Joyce Finelli. She's completely crazy. Here's my first call because I knew she knew these women. I'm like, how are they photographed on the beach? And why don't they have like stretch marks everywhere? I have them from puberty. Like they've had 4 kids or 2 kids and like, what's going on? She said, oh, she's extremely crazy, but that's why we love her. She said, the thing you have to do is buy the huge thing of La Mer, which is like $2,500. And then you have to wrap your body in saran wrap and sleep like that.
No.
And I'm wild enough, and I hated my stretch marks so much, which this is a self-love thing, but I hated them so much that I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it. And I made the big investment. And I'm like, how am I going to keep reordering this product? Like, how many tubs am I going to go through? Like, this is crazy. I can't order another jar. So how is this going to last me 9 months? Then I broke down the ingredients and, tried wearing it overnight. It was hot. I was sweating.
Can't believe it.
It actually wasn't that clean anyway. And so I was like, well, what is it that stretch marks need? What does your skin need to, be able to stretch and grow? And so I just did my 10,000 hours. I started doing deep dives in the middle of the night on my computer in bed or on my phone in bed, and nobody can see my light. And I'm like, and coming up with lists and ordering raw ingredients and putting it in my kitchen and really like making versions of this body butter for 4 or 5 years before we launched. I mean,
did you have a passion in this before, or was this just like
I had an insecurity before because I hated my stretch marks, which my puberty stretch marks I've grown to not give a damn and I love, but I just had an insecurity before, and the insecurity is what drove it.
So the body butter was inspired by an insecurity, but sounds like made you kind of love yourself in the process of trying to find out how to fix them. But then you were inspired by it, or like, how did you
I just think that when you do everything you could do, I mean, that's all you can do, right? So I went to like the full extreme, like, let's see what we can do about not getting any more of them. And in the process learned and realized, and everybody has stretch marks, So it's like not a big deal. And why are women shamed for stretch marks and men aren't? Like the whole thing is just wrong. But this ended up being, before it was a brand, a cool product. So that same makeup artist that used to tell everybody to use La Mer, she now was asking for her clients for this butter because she used it during her pregnancy, and nobody wants to spend $2,500 for a jar of 16-ounce La Mer.
So how much is your body butter?
It's $95, and that's a lot, but there's no filler. There's no water. I mean, it's only pure plant and from the seed, which is like the most potent and nutritive part of the seed.
Which means you could put it on your baby or your child because
Yeah.
yes, you could. Okay.
Yeah.
And now you have a face oil. I love face oil, and I love your packaging for your face oil too. Tell us about that.
So I'm an esthetician, and I didn't know I'd ever have a skincare line. Honestly, I loved skincare, and I've bought everything. And, you know, as I buy new creams, I'll decide like what is the better, and I'll like get rid of the other cream completely. And I only want to use the best. And so it just evolved from having this like body line to, okay, now what face oil do I want to use on my face? And looking at the different face oils and saying, well, I wouldn't have put that as the first ingredient, because the first ingredient is what's heaviest in, you know, or say like the first 5 or something. Those
I
are
don't think many people know that, by the way. Like I don't think that they
yeah.
know
So
that
I say, well, why are you using a safflower oil or I don't know, like what one of the cheaper types of oils first? And it's because the brand wants to charge for and have their profit margin be so high. And I said, well, what would I make for myself? Okay, I would put squalene first. I would have all of the good stuff up top and heavy, because for me, I'm formulating for myself. I'm working with a lab, but I'm the first user, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make the very best for myself, and I'm not thinking about profit margin. As a business, I kind of have to do that. But the goal isn't to get rich with MUTHA. We have a give back that we do. You know, we're employing lots of women. We give 5% of all of our sales back to educating midwives and nurses. So this wasn't like a business to be run to like buy myself a house or to buy myself the next car. Or, you know, I didn't have that kind of goal. It was more about making the product. And because I'm the one testing it, I'm testing it against everything that I currently buy, and it has to be better than it or we can't make it, you know?
Yes.
And that's how the department came.
What would you say the big, like there's so much we could talk about, because women in business with as mothers and with young children and with 4 children.
You have 4.
There's so much, you know, there's so much conversation around what we should and shouldn't be doing as mothers and
it
as
sounds
women.
like you know a lot about that. Tons of mom shaming you've experienced along with a lot of moms.
But I wanted to know, what would you say the biggest preconceived notion about you is in terms of being all of that?
Gosh. I call myself a bad mother, and we created a campaign around this. So I've got to say, like, I had plenty of it. There's plenty of internet shaming. I was shamed for using a surrogate because I already had 2 kids. How could it be so selfish to still want a 3rd kid, you know? And I had to use surrogate because I have an autoimmune disease, and the medicine I have to take for it causes birth defects. But I was so selfish for doing that, you know? I mean, there's been so many. I could go on. I don't know.
How do you handle that? Like, I know that it can be, you know, some people it can really get to them. And you know, sometimes we see people like, I have to get off of social media. Like, I can't take it. I'm breaking down because of all the horrible things that people are saying. How do you react to like these judgments of things that people are saying about you when they have really no background, don't know your actual story?
I try to just remember that what you said. They have no background. They don't know me. They don't know your story. And if they had anything else going on in their life, they would not be worried about me. Let's just say, you know, I mean, that's the worst person that hides behind like the internet and like sends these messages. It's the worst, but unfortunately moms don't just get it there. You could get it at your kid's school. You could get it at the playground. You could get it. I mean, you know,
so you're kind of good at being able to brush it off and looking at it for what it is. Did you feel like you say your mother, you did a post on Mother's Day with your mother?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how that's your mother.
I know.
I'm like, no. And she's like, no, that's not her mother.
She
I'm
uses
like,
the serum.
That can't be. Oh, she uses the face oil.
But
what the heck? Why does she look like your sister?
Do you know that she has never dyed her hair? I have more gray hair than my mother has. How is it possible that she has black hair? She has virgin hair. First off, it's never been colored. I don't know how she didn't get bored, number one. But she's never done Botox. She's never had an injection. She is like, I don't know.
Like,
but
she looks
why do
very
I have
natural.
gray hair and she doesn't?
She looks natural, but she looks young. Was she a young mom?
She was a young mom. Yeah, she had me when she was in her teens still. So she was.
And it sounds like
yeah.
your mom lives near you, because you were saying that she takes care of the kids sometimes. So she lives near you.
She's here now. She was in the kitchen when I came up. It's amazing. I have a good relationship with my mom. I went through the weird phase where girls do not believe anything their mom says is right, correct. You do everything different. So
what age was that, please, Hope?
What age was it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I think it started at 12 for me and went on to 25. So
Oh God,
I am
oh God,
so
oh God,
scared.
oh
I am
God,
so
oh God,
scared
oh
because now
God.
I have the girls.
Yeah.
But maybe that was just me, like, because I've always been really independent and really had very strong beliefs about the way I wanted to live my life and the way things should be done. And
so you want to hear good news, bad news? I would say that the good news is those people become very strong women. Bad news is they're so intent on finding out who they are that they can't possibly take an opinion, let alone their mother's opinion. And I really do believe that the children who give you the hardest time are the ones who are probably the strongest and do it their own, you know what I mean? Do it their own way.
So I keep telling myself.
Do it their own way
But
to
now
find
you
their.
now you have an amazing relationship with your mom. So do we. And we're so, I mean, can you, like, do you, being able to, having 4 kids, you know, I've got 4, she's got 3, and having our moms close by, like, after becoming a mother, more than ever.
Best. It is the best. There's nobody else that you can trust like you could trust, like your mother, you know?
I know.
I don't know what I would do. I don't think that I would be in any area of life thriving if she wasn't nearby. I'm not kidding.
I know, we're so lucky to have that. We are so lucky.
Do you
so hard.
In-laws? Do you have a relationship there?
Do you have in-laws?
Do you have in-laws?
I have a mother-in-law. My father-in-law passed away, and my mother-in-law, and we've had a rocky start to begin with. But now we are very, very close. There's something about when you have a child and it just brings a family more together. So now we are very close. She comes up and she stays like the weekend, or she's very close to.
That's actually, you're actually lucky it turned out that way. Sometimes we find that after having kids, that, like, some people just cannot be around their mother-in-law anymore.
My daughter, who's like pretty, she's 11, but she's just insightful. You know they hear everything, even though you don't even have to say it, they pick up on it. And she said to me, she's like, it's funny how a lot of the moms of, like, the dads or the husbands don't really like the mom. It's so weird. And I was like, what? Like, but she specified the dad's mom. Why don't they? And she would it was kind of a passing question, because she was going through her friends whose moms don't love their in-laws because they're aware at the age there was 3 of her friends whose grandmothers were visiting, and that's not good because mommy and her don't get 3 of them. And she was having this conversation. I was like,
I mean, it happens in the movies too.
No, I know.
It's all the time. That's why they sometimes when you look at a house, if there's like an apartment that's above the garage or like some other area, they call it the mother-in-law house because it's outside of your house.
That's so true. The mother-in-law suite.
Well, I had to go through this. Sometimes women, when they have a son, it can be the different it can be different. It was so hard to explain, and I was like, I don't know what to say right now. Why women and sons? And at that moment, because you have 2 sons, right?
Yeah.
At that moment, I was like, just trying to be like, I will do my very best so that my children's children are not having this conversation in a car about that very topic. Because when you're so close to your mom, it's just an interesting thing. Some people don't have daughters, right? So this has got to be such a conversation, and everyone always wants us to tackle that topic, and we don't. But when we talk about motherhood, it's just this topic that isn't spoken about.
But you're lucky that it turned around and having children children and brought you guys closer. That's lucky.
I have been lucky. Yes.
And how many children did your mom have?
4.
Oh, but you were going for 3 and you got a surprise 4?
I was going for 3 and the 4th surprised me. She split. So we had put in 1 embryo and the embryo split and we got the call and it was 2. And I'm like, but this is science. We put in 1. Like that does not happen. Like I saw it before it was implanted and it was 1 embryo. So yeah, that was a call too. And my husband walked in as I got the call. I was screaming on the phone, like, what do you mean there's 2? And he came in from this out of town trip and he's like looking at me and putting his bag down. And that was a surprise, you know.
But now you have 2 girls and 2 boys. How old are the babies now?
9 months.
How's it going?
They're both starting to crawl. Now both of them are crawling and it's just, it's adorable, but they're like moving now. So now I have like 4 moving kids, which is different than 2 moving kids and like 2 that can live in one spot.
And are the boys not in school?
They're not. So we decided to do like their virtual remote program. But I will tell you that I was thinking about like after March, I think everybody in March started thinking about getting help in their house. So in March, I started thinking about, okay, I've got to bring in somebody to help me because I'm working and running this calendar every day while the kids are, you know, my oldest is kindergarten year. And how am I going to, if school doesn't happen, what am I going to do? So instead of hiring like a nanny or somebody, we hired a teacher to help us. And now the teacher's doing remote school and it's like a dream. So,
oh my God.
Oh, you really figured that one out.
And everybody said, oh, this is going to be over by September. You'll be fine. And I've already got letters from our remote school that I guess they send to everybody saying like, so-and-so, there was a student that tested positive in this grade, just, you know. And so I'm already getting those letters. So I'm like, I guess we're just home, you know.
Where do you live? Sorry.
So right now I'm in Colorado. I don't always live in Colorado, but we are at our ranch. My husband has a fly fishing ranch out here. I call it his because it's in the middle of the mountains, and
That
it
sounds exciting. Do you fly fish?
only like when I have to, you know.
How, like, I know that no one would ever ask a man this, but if you only have a teacher helping, and it sounds like your husband travels for business, how are you finding COVID, running a business, and being a mom to twins, babies, and the like? How are you finding that? And are you like
My mom, for one?
Does she live in Colorado?
I'm sorry.
Does she live in Colorado?
She is in our little like isolation bubble with us. So she's living here with us, and she has been just like the best for all of it. I normally work, I get up like at 5:30, but I start working because my office is in New York. So it's a 2-hour difference. So I start working here at 7 to keep up with my 9 o'clock office in New York. And I'm normally done like by 1 because it's 3 there. And I'm just done with all of the work that I can do till after the kids go to bed. So I'm with them from like 1 o'clock here, which works out. Being like working the early shift versus the later shift is easier for us.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then thank God I have like the teacher there with the boys from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock, you know, so that is like big.
Yeah.
I see them for lunch and then they're back in the classroom till Monday through Friday.
I do hate this question because I again don't think any man would be asked it, and we're very aware of shaming and the guilt. But do you ever like have guilt? Do you ever feel it? Because I know our community, the biggest thing is women, you know, feel guilty for taking time to run a business, and you know, feel guilty for maybe taking a weekend away that they haven't taken.
I 100% hear you and get it. I have never taken a weekend away because I have that guilt. I need to take a weekend away. I mean, I just kind of do it in the house where I'll like schedule something to happen with the boys where I can like have that time, but I'm not like leaving and I need to leave.
You do.
Yeah, I have the mom guilt too. I mean, about silly things. Like if I spend all day working and I work past that, you know, the afternoon and I'm working up until dinner and there's a lot going on because of a product launch or whatever it is, you have that guilt. And it's not fair because my husband's not sitting in his office having any kind of guilt that he didn't come out of the office till 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or that he's taking a 7 o'clock call. Like at all during bedtime. But if I'm missing bedtime, it's like, you know, a big thing because the kids
don't love him less because he took the call at 7 o'clock. You know what I mean? That's what's so hard to comprehend. It's not like there's less love because one goes to work and one stays home. It's like we have an internal competition with ourselves that the more we're there, the more they love us. But what we realized is during COVID, The more we were there, the more dependent they became versus it was like,
we thought that if we spent tons of time with them, then they would become, they'd be like, okay, well, we know she's here, so we can go. They were like magnets on us every single day. They can't get enough. And the more you give doesn't make them love you anymore.
There's no gold medal for the amount of time. You know what I mean? There's not enough time. You could spend 24 hours a day, which we did, and there was still not enough time for them.
Never enough. That is one thing I focused on during COVID, was teaching them to be more independent. So the boys are only 4 and 5. So the girls aren't independent, obviously, at all. But the boys, I'm like, nope, we're not going to ask mommy for this. I'm going to show you where it's at. And having them be as independent as possible. Even if they're going to make more of a mess, I'm like, you have to do it. Do not ask for help. You can do this, And it's just like a little bit lighter of a load,
No, I totally agree. I'm like, where the water cups are. You know how to get the water. Water is now your job. So you have 4 kids. You have a business. Life is crazy. What about, people love to know, like, do you make time for you and your husband? Do you do a date night? Like, is that something that has to be on a back burner now because life is just so busy with 4 little kids? Or is that something you do?
It has to literally be built into a schedule right now. So it's like, when are we going to eat dinner alone? Without the kids.
Do you do that? Do you do that?
We try to, but it doesn't work out. Like
I mean, like, it makes us all feel better because I'm like, by 8 o'clock, I'm like, I am so tired. I cannot eat another meal. I've already cooked, 2 meals and 79 snacks.
Or, I love finding a new TV series to watch with my husband, because then we're both able to like relax, and one that we both get into. And it's really rare that we both get into the same one.
Totally agree.
It's just, and we're living in this new bubble where we're not going out to restaurants a lot. So before we had we would put the kids to bed and we would go out. But right now we're just kind of just home, and we're in the mountains anyway, which is 30 or 40 minutes from a town. So
what time do your kids go to bed at?
I am big on early bedtimes. I love early bedtimes. So we're in bed at 7 o'clock. I mean, books are started at 6:30. I can't, because I have to.
So lucky they get older and they don't go to bed.
We were so strict on the 7 to 7. Like all of our babies were 7 to 7. The sun would be out. We didn't care. 7 to 7. Loved the routine. The kids ended up.
And then you feel like you still had a night ahead of you.
Yeah, I have 7 to 7 right now.
Now it's 9:45, 10 o'clock. And I said never, but I mean, I was like, they will never do that. Yeah. It's like bedtime is harder now than it was when they were younger, just because they want to talk and they want to have conversation, which is amazing. But by come 9 o'clock, you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired,
Just go to bed.
I know. And then why does it have to get to that point where it's the just go to bed? And they almost will take it until you're upset. And then they're like, oh, I better go to bed now. But why did I have to get upset? It was such a nice evening with you.
I say that all the time.
And sports goes till my daughter gets home from sports at 9:15. We have 2 more questions and then we'll let you go. You had a super close relationship with your mom, and we try to let every mom know that it doesn't really matter at the end of the day if you don't make the rainbow birthday cakes and if you don't buy them all the latest and the greatest. It's kind of how can you hear me?
No.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Do you want to type the question and I'll answer it?
Okay. One piece of advice for all the moms out there.
I think it would be centered around take the time for you. Even if it's 8 o'clock, take that time for you. Do what you love to do. Whatever you want to do it. If you've thought about it during the day a few times, if something makes you really happy, if you want to have those cocktails, whether it's getting on a video call with your girlfriend and sitting in your bathroom, because that's where we typically hide, wherever your space is, go do something that just makes you happy and try to fit in every day. That, and I love rituals. So I'm really big on doing the same thing and kind of a little bit of a routine. So I like having my coffee at 10 a.m. every morning. Even if I had an earlier cup of coffee, I want to have a coffee at 10 a.m. So I leave it breaks up my day. It makes the day feel more interesting, especially in this time.
I love that advice because I think rituals make you looking forward to something, like especially when there's not a lot to look forward to. So like little rituals are so important. And also
Yeah.
often you'll be too tired to make time for yourself, which sounds so crazy because it's easier not to, but when you do it, you feel so much better for doing that. So you have to really like, take time so the days just don't blend and you're 7 years later being like, I wish I had done it differently,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have one last question. I know I said that your sweatshirt, is that your son's writing?
I love lingua franca, and they did this. You can get your kids to write any message to you. So I had them write messages down, and I sent them in. And in his writing, they like stitch it on.
That
and
is the most adorable thing I have ever seen.
Yeah, it looks like it says "I love you, Hendrix," but it's "I love you" and then his name.
Yeah.
And I figured later I would end up framing it probably and putting it in the house somewhere on the wall. So, but the company is Lingua Franca.
That's really cute.
That is the most adorable thing. Where can everybody find
you and your products and more about you?
And I know that we didn't even touch upon the advocacy you're doing and the the work you're doing to help women who are marginalized in terms of birth, and how they're disproportionately, like, you're doing so much, it's crazy. How can people support you, follow you, learn more about everything you're doing?
Sure. So I'd say the first thing is MUTHA.com, because that's where we do the big give back, where you purchase a product, every single purchase that you make, there's give back that goes to educating the midwives and nurses, where maternal mortality is the highest. I don't believe anybody should ever die in childbirth. For one, you just shouldn't, because every woman's life is big. But what about when she has baby 1 at home, baby 2 at home, baby 3 at home, and she's having baby 4? So that give back is really big. And then MUTHA has like an Instagram account at MUTHA, and then I'm at Hope Smith.
Yes, love following you, Hope. It was so nice to meet you. Thank you for everything you're doing, and we cannot wait to try your product. And thank you for joining us.